They say Solomon ruled with wisdom unmatched by any mortal. But what they don't tell you is that his greatest conquest wasn't over kingdoms or men, it was over hell itself. With a divine ring forged by the hand of God, Solomon didn't just build a temple, he built a prison. A prison for demons, 72 of them. Spirits so dangerous, so corrupted that heaven itself cast them into the abyss, only for Solomon to call them forth and bind them in chains. These weren't mindless beasts. They were kings, dukes, princes, masters of deception, destruction, lust, and forbidden knowledge. And the most terrifying part, the strongest among them isn't who you think. It's not Lucifer. It's not Beelzebub. It's not even Asmodeus. The most powerful demon Solomon ever faced was one whose name has been buried beneath centuries of fear. A name so strange, so unexpected, it will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about hell. So lean in and don't blink. Comment 777. Below, if you believe light is stronger than darkness, and if you're ready to uncover secrets lost for thousands of years, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another story like this, because once you hear this name, you'll never forget it. The 72 Kings of Hell. The most powerful infernal demons, Ars Goetia, lesser key of Solomon. In the ancient echoes of Judeo-Christian lore, when the young King Solomon knelt before the Almighty, not to ask for gold or glory, but for wisdom, he unknowingly opened the gateway to a far more dangerous inheritance. Jehovah, the Eternal One, was pleased, and in response, he did not merely bless Solomon with insight beyond his years. He endowed him with a dominion unmatched in all the earth, a throne so empowered that no king before or after would ever rule with such celestial favor. Nations bowed at his feet, the winds obeyed his voice, and wisdom became only the beginning. But have you ever wondered what wasn't written in the Christian Bible? What truths were kept hidden beneath the surface of the sacred pages? For beyond the scriptures, read in daylight, was a deeper secret whispered only in shadow. Jehovah gave Solomon a ring, not just any ring, but one wrought with heavenly fire and divine authority. A ring said to command not just mortals, but spirits. Not just spirits, but demons, and not merely demons, but the very fabric of the elements themselves. How could such a relic exist, and what sort of man would be entrusted with such perilous power? According to forbidden tales and apocryphal scrolls passed through generations of mystics, the world in Solomon's time was shrouded in darkness. Not metaphorical darkness, real creeping intelligent shadow. Something had ruptured the veil that divides our world from the infernal abyss, a fracture in the barrier between man and demon. Through this breach came legions of tormented spirits, ancient entities twisted with hatred for the image of God. They poured into the world like a flood of nightmares, tormenting the innocent, feeding on fear, and turning even the holiest of places into grounds of terror. Have you ever felt an unseen presence watching you from the dark? A whisper at night when no one else was home? What if that wasn't your imagination? What if the veil had thinned again? But amidst that chaos, Jehovah's ring gleamed with divine fire on Solomon's hand. And with it he rose not just as a king of men, but as a warrior of heaven. One by one he hunted the commanders of hell's armies. He spoke not with sword or spear, but with words of authority binding them in the name of the Most High. Chains, invisible to human eyes, wrapped around these fallen monarchs, chains forged not of metal, but of divine will. And with each demon subdued, the legions under their command fell silent. These were no ordinary spirits. These were kings, 72 of them, each a sovereign over countless infernal legions, princes of pestilence, lords of madness, monarchs of fear. These were the rulers of the realm of flame, the very embodiment of rebellion itself, past, present, and even future. Some say they now slumber beneath the earth, their names recorded only in secret grimoires, like the Ars Goetia, waiting for a voice foolish or bold enough to call them forth once again. The first of the 72 spirits recorded in the forbidden pages of the Ars Goetia is no mere whisper in the dark. He is a king, and not just of demons, but of the very East. His name is Baal, a title once chanted in the winds of idolatry, and now feared as one of the most powerful infernal sovereigns ever known. He holds dominion over 66 legions of demons, each one more twisted than the last, and his presence, when it is felt, is said to distort the very air itself. But what form does such a king take when he crosses the veil? That depends. For Baal does not appear as one fixed being. Sometimes he comes as a man, his face veiled in shifting smoke. Other times, he emerges as a cat, its eyes glowing with unnatural fire, or as a toad, bloated and silent, eerily motionless. And on the rarest of occasions, he appears in all three forms, at once a triple-headed creature, whose heads, a cat, a toad, and a human, rotate and speak in unison. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to stand before such a form? Would you dare to look into the eyes of a being not bound by shape or law? But Baal's power is not in appearance alone. Those who summon him do not seek knowledge or riches, they seek disappearance. For Baal grants invisibility, not an illusion, not stealth, but true vanishing. A slipping from the grasp of both men and spirits. And this is no mere trick. It is a gift born of ancient rebellion. You may have heard of him by another name, Beelzebub, or Beelzebul, translated often as the Lord of the Flies. But some scholars argue it once meant Lord of the Heavens. Can the same being bear both titles of filth and of sky? In the days of the prophet Elijah, this name shook kingdoms, for in those times Beelzebul stood as the greatest rival to Jehovah, the God of Israel. Sacrifices were made to him, altars built in his honor. His name was carved into the hearts of kings. Could it be that this ancient enemy of the Israelites is the very same Baal now bound by Solomon? And is it not written in 2 Kings 1:2 that King Ahaziah sought counsel from Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, instead of from Jehovah? The consequence of that choice was death. What then awaits those who call to Baal today? But Baal was not alone. Behind him came another second spirit, a duke known as Agaris, whose title carries with it the elegance of an old and terrible nobility. When he appears, it is as a refined old man, his face marked with age, but his eyes burning with command. He rides not a horse or beast of the field, but a crocodile, a creature of the deep, and on his fist perches a goshawk, sharp-eyed and silent. The symbolism is not lost, one foot in Earth's primal chaos and the other in the predatory sky. Agaris is no lesser duke. He rules over 31 legions, and his influence is subtle, yet terrifying. He can stop a man mid-flight, arresting not just feet, but will. He can recall the runaway, not with kindness, but by command. Have you ever tried to run from something you feared, only to feel your body refuse to move? But Agaris is not merely a hunter. He is a teacher. He instructs in all languages, breaking down the confusion of Babel as though it were child's play. Yet knowledge is not his only gift. He can shake the earth, bringing about earthquakes, and he can dismantle dignity itself, stripping both spiritual authority and earthly rank. Long before his name was carved into demonic seals, Agaris belonged to the angelic order of virtues, one of heaven's most powerful choirs. What could twist such a being once filled with light into a duke of destruction? And more haunting still, if he once held the power to build what now drives him only to tear down. And then comes the third, a prince not as grand in appearance, but no less powerful. His name is Vasago, and he too wears the ancient dignity of the fallen. He is said to resemble Agaris in form, calm, aged, noble. Yet there is something different in his presence, something gentler, more curious. Unlike the others, Vasago is of good nature, or so the old texts say. But can any demon truly be good? Or is it simply that his nature is useful to those who seek him? For Vasago bears a gift no treasure could equal. He sees what was and what is yet to come. He is the revealer of things, hidden the finder of all that is lost. Secrets, memories vanished, relics, he can draw them back from the shadows. He is the lantern bearer in a house of locked doors. He does not rule with terror or pride, but with sight. 26 legions answer his call, yet he commands not through fear, but through insight. The fourth spirit in Solomon's infamous hierarchy is a being whose name stirs unease, even when whispered, Gamigan, a great marquis of the infernal host. When summoned, he does not appear immediately in human guise. Instead, he manifests first as a small horse, a creature seemingly harmless, almost quaint until it opens its mouth. For it is then that the true horror of Gamigan begins. The creature speaks, but the voice remains equine, distorted, and hollow, like a gallop trapped in a scream. Only after this unsettling display does Gamigan assume a human form. Though even then, some say the echo of his voice remains unchanged, still neighing through syllables like a specter, trying to imitate a man. Have you ever heard a voice that didn't match the face it came from? Gamigan's powers are not to be underestimated. He is a teacher of liberal sciences, offering knowledge that once belonged to universities of angels before the fall corrupted their light. But this marquis does not simply trade in philosophy and reason. He offers a far darker gift. Gamigan gives accountings of the dead, specifically those who have died in sin. He knows them, calls them by name, recounts their deeds. If summoned, he can reveal the fate of those damned by their own choices. But it does not end there. Gamigan rules over 30 legions of demons, and within his dominion lies the power to summon souls not only of the wicked, but of the drowned, those whose deaths were neither clean nor complete. More chilling still, he can summon the souls trapped in purgatory, caught between justice and mercy, unfinished, and echoing in limbo. What would it feel like to stand in the presence of voices crying from beneath the water or from the borderlands of heaven? And if he summoned someone you once knew, would you dare to ask what they saw on the other side? Then comes the fifth spirit, a great president whose reputation travels before him like wildfire in ancient halls, Marbas, also known by the name Barbas in some secret circles. When he first appears, it is not as a man, but as a great lion, a beast of authority, pride, and raw power. The air thickens with heat, and the low growl of something eternal vibrates the bones. Only when commanded by the master, and only then, does Marbas shed this form and take on a human shape. But even in this form, his gaze remains fierce and his knowledge terrifyingly precise. Marbas has many gifts. He is an innovator of secrets, answering truly of all that is hidden or concealed. Secrets of the heart, secrets beneath the earth, secrets men would kill to protect, but his power reaches far beyond knowledge. Marbas causes diseases, plagues, pestilences, afflictions of mind and body. Yet he is also the one who cures them. In him, both illness and healing reside like twin serpents wrapped around the same staff. Does this remind you of the serpent Moses, raised in the wilderness in Numbers 21:9, which both judged and saved? Could Marbas be a corrupted echo of that image? He also grants wisdom, particularly in mechanical arts, teaching with the clarity of one who once designed heavenly things. And perhaps most unnervingly, he can change the form of men, transforming the body as easily as one might mold clay. What would you give for that kind of power? To change what you are on the outside or even the inside? But at what cost? For Marbas governs 36 legions, and not all who learn from him walk away unchanged. And then, the sixth spirit is short in title, but long in consequence. His name is Valafar, though some whisper it as Malafar, and both are correct. He is a mighty duke, and he arrives in a form befitting his dual nature, a lion in shape, yet his face is that of a man. The nobility of the beast mixed with the cunning of humanity. His eyes watch closely, his movements graceful, but purposeful. He is no raging monster, he is deliberate. And it is said he does not approach strangers. No, he befriends, he grows familiar, he earns trust, and then he tempts. Valfar's talent is one of corruption through proximity. Those who know him, those who walk with him, often begin to steal, not because they are forced, but because something within them has been nudged, whispered, to lured. They begin with just a little what harm is one small theft, but the act is never the end. It is the beginning of a spiral. For Valfar governs 10 legions, and each of his demons is said to carry within them the gift of subtle suggestion, the ability to make evil seem rational. The seventh spirit in Solomon's infernal hierarchy is a being cloaked in wildness and fury. Ammon, a powerful marquis whose nature is as volatile as the elements themselves. When he first manifests, he takes the form of a wolf, but not one you'd find in any forest of this world. From the base of his spine slithers a serpent's tail twitching with venomous life, while his mouth spews flames, not metaphorical ones, but fire so real, so consuming, that the air hisses around him. And yet this form is not his final. Ammon then shifts his body, transforming into the shape of a man, but his face becomes something far more disturbing, a raven's head, sharp and watchful, with a mouth lined by dog's teeth, capable of tearing truth from shadow. Could you speak calmly with such a creature whose very breath scorches the air and whose eyes seem to see through time? Ammon's gifts are tied to his dual nature, destructive yet reconciling. He speaks of the past with unsettling precision and of the future with a certainty that shakes even the most skeptical soul. But beyond knowledge, Ammon is a bringer of peace. He has the ability to reconcile friends and, even more strangely, to settle disputes between enemies. What kind of power is this, that a demon of flame and fang should become a mediator of hearts? And what does it say about the world that some seek such a spirit to repair what human hands could not? Ammon rules over 40 legions, and his influence stretches wide, whispering into broken bonds, mending hatred, or perhaps bending it for his own ends. If you had the chance to end a feud, would you risk summoning the wolf who breathes fire? The eighth spirit is no less enigmatic Barbados, a great duke whose very presence is tied to the heavens. He rules over 30 legions, and yet he is best approached not at random, but when the sun is in Sagittarius, a time when his celestial influence is strongest. Only then does he appear, and when he does, he is not alone. He arrives accompanied by 4 noble kings. Their banners unfurled their troops, thundering behind them, like echoes of an ancient war. Barbados does not announce himself with destruction, but with understanding. His voice, though firm, is said to resonate with the sounds of nature itself. He bestows the ability to comprehend the languages of animals, the singing of birds, the barking of dogs, the silent messages woven into rustling leaves. What might a raven tell you if you could finally understand its song? Or a dog's bark could carry warnings you've never known how to hear. Barbados reveals hidden treasures, not those buried by kings, but ones concealed through magic, protected by enchantments laid in forgotten times. He is also a spirit of reconciliation, not just among friends, but among those in positions of power. Kings, rulers, judges, he smooths the frictions that threaten to ignite kingdoms, and his knowledge runs deep. He knows of things past and yet to come, and he is said to teach all sciences, from the movements of stars to the secrets of the atom. But perhaps most striking is that before his fall, Barbados was one of the angelic order of virtues, a group known for upholding divine miracles. How far must one fall to go from miracle bearer to demon duke? And what if a fragment of that virtue still lingers in him, twisting, burning, waiting? And now we come to the ninth spirit, one of the most powerful ever recorded in the lesser key of Solomon. He is not a duke nor a marquis, but a great King Paimon, whose name alone sends ripples through occult circles. He does not rule quietly. Paimon commands 200 legions of demons, a force so vast it echoes the great rebellion of Revelation 12:4, when a third of the star's angels were cast to earth. Among those fallen was Paimon, once a mighty member of the angelic order of dominations. Can you imagine what it means to dominate not just men, but angels? He stood with Lucifer during the fall, and he remembers. Paimon appears in full regal splendor, seated on a camel, towering above, all draped in robes that shimmer like oil on water. But he does not arrive alone. He comes with music, a parade of musicians bearing trumpets and other instruments, playing songs not of joy, but of invocation. Their music shakes the air, commanding attention, bending emotion. And then he speaks with a roaring voice, thunderous and unyielding, a voice not meant to be heard by human ears without consequence. Yet what he teaches is irresistible. All arts, all sciences, all secrets, knowledge beyond the reach of scholars' techniques, unknown to the greatest of craftsmen, mysteries that unravel even the deepest symbols. But this knowledge does not come freely. For Paimon also bends the will. He submits people to the magician who has summoned him. One word from the conjurer, and Paimon will enslave minds, bending men like reeds in the wind. But ask yourself if you could control the thoughts of others. Would you? The 10th spirit in the infernal hierarchy is no ordinary shade. He is a president not of men, but of hidden wisdom and healing. His name is Buer, and though his title sounds humble compared to kings and dukes, make no mistake, his influence stretches across 50 legions of demons, each one loyal to his instruction. But Buer does not answer every call. He appears only when the sun is in Sagittarius, aligning his manifestation with the celestial gates that once governed the movement of angels before the fall. And when he does arrive, he does not come in a form known to mankind. Buer appears in the shape of Sagittarius itself, half man, half beast, yet crowned with the head of a lion. What is man without wisdom and beast without instinct? In this form, he is both scholar and predator, philosopher and protector. His very body becomes a symbol, a living cipher of the heavens and the earth joined in one body. Have you ever seen something so unnatural that it made your soul pause? That is the feeling conjurers describe when Buer rises from the circle. Yet his gifts are sought not for destruction, but for restoration. Buer is one of the few spirits who heals all distempers in man, afflictions of the body, of the mind, of the soul. Where others bring plagues and torment, Buer brings remedies, secret balms long lost to modern medicine. He is also a giver of good familiars, loyal spirit companions who serve without betrayal. And then comes his true strength teaching. Buer instructs in moral and natural philosophy, explaining the divine logic woven into nature's law. He teaches logical arts, reasoning deduction, and the great architecture of thought. And perhaps, most sacred of all, he reveals the virtues of all herbs and plants, their poisons, their cures, their spirits. Could it be that he once held the knowledge granted to Adam in Eden before the fall? Or is he now a twisted guardian of what once grew in paradise next? In the procession of darkness is the 11th spirit, Gusoin, also known in other tongues as Gusain, a duke whose knowledge is as boundless as the sea and as precise as a sharpened blade. He rules over 40 legions of demons, yet he carries himself with an air not of brute power, but of silent knowing. His appearance is likened to that of Xenophilus, though interpretations vary. Some say he bears the visage of an ancient philosopher. Others say his presence is so pure in form that it defies comparison. What is not disputed is his gift. Gusoin tells of all things past, present, and future. His voice reaches into time itself, drawing forth truths that lie buried beneath centuries of dust and denial. If you had a question no man could answer, would you dare ask it of Gusoin? And would you be prepared to live with the answer? He does not simply speak facts. He gives meaning to the questions asked. He unveils not only the what, but the why. And for those who summon him with courage and respect, he grants honor and dignity, not as a counterfeit glamour, but as a weight of true authority in the spiritual realm. Yet one must ask, when a demon bestows honor, what does it cost the soul? And then comes the 12th spirit, a being whose very presence stirs the deepest corners of human desire. His name is Sitri, a great prince who commands 60 legions of spirits, each one a whisper in the dark places of the heart. His appearance is anything but ordinary. At first, Sitri arrives with the face of a leopard, his eyes gleaming with wild intelligence, and the wings of a griffin stretching like thunderclouds about to break. This is the face of predatory seduction, a beast of both land and sky. But then slowly, his form melts and reforms until he becomes a man radiantly beautiful, too perfect, too alluring. Have you ever met someone whose beauty felt unnatural? Sitri's power is not in destruction, but in arousal, in erotic persuasion that few can resist. He inflames women with desire for men, and men with desire for women, until even the most chaste hearts burn with forbidden longings. More than that, he causes the proud and the modest alike to strip themselves bare both in body and in soul. Some believe he was once the tempter who whispered to Bathsheba upon the rooftop. Others say his presence lingers even now in the obsessions that consume relationships. But can love born of sorcery ever be true? Can a bond forged by lust survive the passing of the spell? The 13th spirit is a name whispered with caution, even among the most experienced conjurers. He is Belith, a terrible and mighty king, whose wrath is not metaphorical, but real, volatile, scorching, and swift. Of all the infernal monarchs, Belith is among the most feared, not because of how he looks, but because of how easily he destroys. He rules over 85 legions of demons, an army vast enough to blot out reason itself. When Belith appears, he does not come silently. His arrival is marked by a procession of music, trumpets, and other instruments echoing like a corrupted parade from heaven's lost courts. But the sound is not joyful. It is jarring, discordant, forcing the heart to race with an unknown dread. And at the center of this infernal fanfare rides the king himself, seated on a pale horse, a grim reminder of the horse in Revelation 6:8, whose rider was named Death. But do not mistake theatrics for mercy. Belith is furious always, and unless the sorcerer traps him within a magic triangle, the risk is fatal. He must be treated with strict respect, yet never with fear, for to fear him is to give him dominion. This is no idle warning. He is known to lash out at hesitation, to punish insolence, to test the will of the one who dares call him. The magician must wear a silver ring upon the middle finger of the left hand, and this ring must be held before the face not as a symbol of power, but as a spiritual barrier, a divine reflection of authority. Have you ever faced something you knew could destroy you, yet had to stare it down anyway? That is the ordeal of summoning Belith. He is stubborn, volatile, and even under control, difficult to handle. And yet people summon him. Why? Because Belith causes love in all forms of it. He can inflame the hearts of men and women alike, drawing them into obsession, desire, devotion. But what is love that comes by force? Is it love at all, or simply control dressed in passion's disguise? Still, those desperate for affection, for power over another's heart, will turn to Belith, regardless of the price. Before his fall, Belith was of the angelic order of power's warriors, of heaven tasked with protecting divine order. Now he bends human hearts as weapons, and the protector has become the corrupter. The 14th spirit is no less a figure of chaos. His name is Lere, a great marquis, known not for his wrath, but for his uncanny connection to warfare. He appears not as a beast nor a king, but as an archer clad in green with a bow and quiver slung across his back. He looks like a figure from legend, silent, calculating, deadly. But make no mistake, Lere does not just fight in battles, he causes them. He is the spark, the unseen hand that turns disagreement into violence, and violence into war. What argument, what quarrel, what feud might have only been words had Lere not fanned the flame. He commands 30 legions each trained in the arts of combat, and more terrifying still, he holds dominion over decay itself, not rot as in time, but the decay of arrow wounds, the festering that follows bloodshed. He turns injuries into lingering agony, makes wounds refuse to heal. Is it any wonder that soldiers on ancient fields feared the unseen hand that made their pain endure? Could it have been Lere stalking among them, bow in hand, silent as death? And then comes the 15th spirit, cloaked in both nobility and cunning. Eligor, also known as Abigor. He is a duke, but his appearance speaks not of wealth or courtly luxury. Instead, He comes as a goodly knight, fully armed for battle. He carries with him a lance, a serpent, and an ensign, symbols of warfare, wisdom, and allegiance. His bearing is regal, yet battle-worn. His gaze pierces both the battlefield and the soul. Eligor is no brute. He is a strategist and sage, a general of spiritual warfare. Eligor's strength lies in knowing all hidden things, all that lies beneath the surface, behind closed doors, and within the folds of time. He tells not only what is concealed in the present, but also what is yet to come. He sees the paths of armies, the plans of kings, and he reveals how and where soldiers shall meet, often long before the first trumpet sounds. What if a single word from Eligor could change the course of a war? What if history itself has been shaped by whispers passed down from his mouth? But Eligor is more than a prophet of battle. He is a dealer of influence. He can secure the favor of rulers, bend leaders to your cause, and open the halls of power to those who were once denied. But what does it take to purchase the loyalty of such a spirit? Can ambition ever be innocent when it walks beside demons? Eligor commands 60 legions, and every one of them marches in silent discipline, waiting only for his word. The 16th spirit, recorded in the lesser key of Solomon, is one whose appearance commands attention the moment he steps forth from the circle. He is Zipar, a great duke, and though he does not arrive with monstrous form or grotesque distortion, his danger lies in what is unseen and what he sows within the heart. Zipar appears clothed in red, the color of passion, of battle, of blood. His garments are crisp, military in design, and his posture is that of a seasoned soldier, unwavering, calculated. He does not roar or hiss, and that silence makes him all the more unsettling. But what Zipar brings is not war in the traditional sense. It is war of the flesh and heart. He holds dominion over the affections of women, and when summoned, he inflames their love for men, igniting desire with unnatural intensity. His power draws souls together, like kindling to a flame. Lovers unite under his influence, sometimes passionately, sometimes obsessively. But Zipar's gift comes with a curse, for even as he brings union, he plants barrenness. Those women who fall under his influence are often rendered unable to conceive their wombs, left desolate, even as their hearts burn with longing. What kind of love ends in emptiness? And what if the very union you prayed for left behind a future that could never be? It is said that Zipar commands 26 legion spirits who move invisibly through the desires of men and women, distorting nature's path for a pleasure that costs more than it gives. His is not love. It is an illusion dressed as intimacy. And still, how many have cried out for love at any cost? How many would risk barrenness of the soul to feel desired? Even for a moment. The 17th spirit bears 2 titles, President and Earl, a dual authority that speaks to both structure and chaos. His name is Botus, though some call him Otis, and his arrival is anything but subtle. He first appears as an ugly viper, slithering and coiled with eyes that pierce through lies, and a form meant to terrify rather than impress. But once the ritual is complete, he transforms into something more familiar, a human form, though still unnerving. In his human guise, Botus retains his fangs sharp and unnaturally powerful, like a predator only half concealed in skin. 2 horns rise from his head, symbols of rebellion and dominion, and in his right hand he wields a sword bright as polished silver and deadly as judgment. He is not a prince of kindness. He is a spirit of sharp truth, Bodis speaks of things past and yet to come. His words cutting through deception, his insight exact. If you dared ask what lies ahead, would you also dare to hear it from one whose voice slices like steel? Despite his violent form, Bodis is a reconciler. He restores broken relationships. Friends turn to enemies, foes divided by war. He speaks words that soften hatred, and many who have summoned him have seen long-standing rifts dissolve. But one must always ask, is peace born of truth or manipulation? Bodis governs 60 legions each, one a wielder of both diplomacy and blade. He is the snake and the sword of wisdom and warning. Would you trust the viper that offers you peace? And the 18th spirit. Bathan, sometimes called Mathim, is a figure of power, mystery, and motion. He is a strong and great duke commanding 30 legions, and when he manifests, he does so on the back of a pale horse like the rider in Revelation, who brings upheaval wherever he goes. His body is muscular, visibly forged by unseen forces, but from behind his back extends the tail of a serpent, a reminder that his strength is not purely human. Bathan does not speak first. His presence is quiet, grounded, as though waiting for the magician to understand what they've summoned. He is a spirit of deep knowledge, and his domain is the lore of herbs and precious stones. He speaks of plants that heal of roots, that kill, of gems that channel energy, and of minerals that can pierce even spiritual armor. Could it be that Bathan carries with him remnants of Eden's lost garden, fragments of knowledge once entrusted to man and now buried beneath time and stone? But Bathan's most astonishing gift is one that defies the laws of earth itself. He can transport the conjurer across nations, across oceans, from one country to another, with no carriage, no vessel. The journey is not physical, yet it is real. His power tears through the borders of the world, bending distance as if it were parchment. Imagine waking in one land and opening your eyes in another. How many boundaries would fall before you if you could walk through them at will? The 19th spirit, listed among the infernal kings of the Lemegeton, is a great duke named Saleos, though in some texts he is also called Salos. When summoned into the world of men, he does not arrive with fire or wrath, but with nobility. He appears as a gallant soldier, his armor gleaming like polished brass beneath a dim and flickering light, riding atop a crocodile, a creature both ancient and deadly, a beast that dwells in still waters but strikes with explosive fury. His head is adorned with a duke's crown ornate and glinting with infernal brilliance, a sign of his authority over 30 legions of spirits who do his bidding without question. But Saleos does not wield swords or spears. He wields the force of affection, bending the hearts of men and women like branches in a storm. He causes the love of women to men and the love of men to women, not merely physical desire, but longing love that burns with sudden and consuming intensity. Who among us has not felt such inexplicable passion? Who can say for sure whether it was the will of their own heart or the whisper of Saleos passing unseen? He is not loud nor boastful. He is elegant, quiet, and calculated. And yet, what happens when a love is born by sorcery rather than soul? What price is paid when a bond is forged by demonic persuasion instead of divine providence? In the book of Proverbs, it is written, "There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death." Proverbs 14:12. Is love from Saleos a gift or a trap? Would you be willing to find out? The 20th spirit stands as one of the mightiest of the kings beneath a great king called Person, whose arrival is marked not by silence, but by the blare of many trumpets filling the air with a sound that shakes the soul. He rides upon a bear, a symbol of brute strength and primal instinct, and in his right hand he holds a cruel viper, its body writhing with malevolence. His face is that of a lion, proud and terrifying, the embodiment of kingship, corrupted. Person knows of all things hidden, the treasures buried beneath temple ruins, the secrets spoken in darkened halls, the thoughts you've never shared with another living soul. He reveals things past, present, and yet to come, his voice speaking with a clarity that leaves no room for doubt. He is a seer of the earthly and the divine, capable of answering questions too dangerous for most men to even ask. Before his fall, Person walked among the angelic order of virtue's spirits of strength and grace. He was also counted among the thrones, those closest to the will of God upholding divine law. And yet he fell. And now he rules over 22 legions, wandering the edges of human knowledge, offering truth with one hand and the serpent with the other. If you could know the future, would you risk the price? If you could unearth buried gold, what would you trade in return? And what of the 21st spirit? He is both Earl and President, bearing the name Morax, though others write it as Merax. His form is that of a great bull, mighty and imposing, with the face of a man, a creature halfway between brute force and intellect. His horns are wide and ancient, curling like the crescent moon, and when he speaks, it is with the authority of a teacher, not a warrior. Morax teaches the liberal sciences, opening the minds of his summoners to truths long forgotten or locked away in forbidden tomes. He is a master of astronomy, reading the stars, not for navigation, but for prophecy. The heavens speak to him and through him, to those who dare to listen. He also knows the virtues of herbs and the mysteries of precious stones, sharing knowledge that could heal or harm. In the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon once declared, "I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly." Ecclesiastes 1:17. Was it Morax who whispered to him? Then he commands 36 legions, each spirit, a bearer of some secret of the cosmos, and together they roam the boundaries of knowledge and power. But again, the question returns. What kind of teacher is a demon? And if you drink from the fountain of knowledge he offers, will it satisfy or consume? The 22nd spirit recorded in Ars Goetia is a mighty prince and earl named Epos. His form is unlike anything found in nature or dream, for he appears as an angel and yet bears marks that betray his infernal origin. His head is that of a lion, fierce and regal. His feet resemble those of a goose, strange and ungainly, and behind him trails the tail of a hare, twitching with restless energy. This uncanny combination of features may seem absurd to some, but in the realm of spirits, nothing is without purpose. Could each element reflect some fragmented piece of who he once was before the fall? Or perhaps each part tells a tale of transformation, of rebellion, of loss. Despite his strange form, Epos is no beast, but a spirit of clarity and intellect. He knows the things of the past, not merely events, but motives, secrets, whispers buried under centuries of dust. And he knows the things yet to come, timelines, unformed futures, glimpsed like flickers of flame in the dark. When he speaks, truth spills forth like water from a broken dam, and he does not flatter or deceive. Those who dare to summon him often do so seeking insight, but they leave with something far more dangerous boldness. For epos makes men clever and bold, imbuing them with a confidence that can change the course of fate or doom them with pride. He governs 36 legions of demons, each one charged with gathering knowledge, pushing the minds of men to limits beyond reason. But ask yourself this: if boldness is given, not earned, does it become arrogance? Is wisdom without humility truly a gift or a trap? As Proverbs 16:18 warns, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Could Ipos be the spirit behind many a fall from greatness? The 23rd spirit is a great duke, both terrifying and enigmatic. He is known as Aim, though in some grimoires he is also called Aini. When summoned, he manifests with a fine body, tall and upright, but his 3 heads unsettle even the strongest of sorcerers. One is the head of a serpent, ancient and wise, its eyes narrow and ever watching. The second is the head of a man bearing 2 glowing stars upon his forehead, a mark perhaps of celestial origin, now turned infernal. And the third is the head of a cat, silent and instinctive, full of secrets and swift judgment. He rides upon a massive viper, a symbol of cunning and danger, and in his hand he carries a flaming firebrand, its light wild and unquenchable. With this infernal torch, Aim sets cities, castles, and great places ablaze, not always literally, but in the sense of upheaval, revolution, or sudden collapse. He is the fire of rebellion, of unexpected genius, of strategies that topple kings and raise beggars to thrones. He is witty and cunning, not in a shallow sense, but with deep and flexible intelligence. He reveals true answers to private matters, solving riddles of the heart and mind. But beware, there is always a cost. What might happen if such power were placed in the wrong hands? What might you burn given the firebrand of Aim? His dominion stretches over 26 legions, and those who serve him do not merely speak truth, they wield it like a blade. The 24th spirit is a valiant marquis, one of the most curious in appearance and demeanor. His name is Nabirius, though some scribes have spelled it Nabirus. He appears as a black crow gliding down from the heavens, with wings that blot out the sun, his eyes like coals burning with scornful wit. His voice is hoarse, raspy, like the wind rustling dry leaves, but every word he speaks is laced with power. Nabirius makes men cunning, not just in craft or knowledge, but in all the arts and sciences, lifting their minds beyond human limitation. Yet, he has a special gift. He is a master of rhetoric, the ancient art of persuasion. With Nabirius, a stutterer may speak like a king. A liar may become a prophet. Do you see the danger? With words, empires have risen and fallen. With silver tongues, men have called evil good and good evil. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Matthew 12:37. So who do you serve when you speak? But Nabirius offers more than eloquence. He restores lost dignities and honors, returning what was stripped away, sometimes rightfully so. To some, he is a redeemer. To others, a deceiver. He commands 19 legions, and with them, he shapes destinies through speech. Persuasion and the resurrection of ruined reputations. But if he gave you back your lost glory, what would you do with it? The 25th spirit is known by a name that echoes through the darkest corners of the infernal hierarchies: Glacia, Labolas, a mighty president of hell. His form is a terrifying fusion of beast and myth, for he appears as a dog with the wings of a griffin, furred and muscular, yet bearing wings of majestic power, feathered like the guardian beasts of forgotten temples. His eyes blaze with a chaotic fire, and his presence trembles, the ground beneath the feet of those who dare to summon him. But do not mistake his bestial shape for mindless rage, for Glasiolabolus teaches all arts, and he does so in an instant. With but a whisper, he can place lifetimes of knowledge into the mind of a mortal. What scholar, what desperate magician would not be tempted? And yet his gifts come drenched in blood. He is the spirit who causes bloodshed and manslaughter, setting brother against brother, kingdom against kingdom. His influence has whispered through battlefields, through assassination, plots, through the venom in whispered betrayals. Is it wisdom to call upon such a spirit or madness? The book of James warns, "For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil works." James 3:16. And Glasiolabolus thrives in that very confusion. He governs 36 legions of demons, all eager to spill blood in his name. If you summoned him, would you seek wisdom or vengeance? The 26th spirit is a mighty duke known as Bune. His manifestation is no less fearsome. He appears in the form of a dragon coiled with strength and crowned in terror. Yet he bears 3 heads, each with its own voice and soul. The first is the head of a dog loyal and savage. The second is the head of a griffin noble and fierce. The third is the head of a man calm, composed, and disturbingly serene. His voice is high and comely, sweet and strange, like a song remembered from childhood and twisted by time. Bune bestows riches, and many have been seduced by his promise. He makes a man wise and eloquent, turning simple words into spells and modest fortunes into empires. He gives true answers to demands and does not mislead unless one's heart is already corrupted. And still, his gifts weigh heavily. Are his riches truly earned, or are they cursed? What would it mean to gain everything only to lose your soul? As Christ asked in Mark 8:36, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Bune governs 30 legions of demons, each ready to weave wealth, knowledge, and destruction according to his will. And so, you must wonder, if you had the chance to speak to this dragon with 3 heads, would you ask for gold for glory, or for something far more dangerous? The 27th spirit is both Marquis and Earl, a high-ranking noble among the damned. He is called Ronov, and his form is unlike any creature of heaven or earth. He appears as a monster, a being whose shape eludes precise definition. Some claim he is cloaked in flame. Others say he slithers with silver skin and eyes that never blink. His voice is said to resonate like metal struck in a cavern, distant and echoing. Ronov teaches the art of rhetoric, and he teaches it well, so well, in fact, that even the most tongue-tied fool may rise to become a master orator. With his touch, words become weapons, praise becomes power. He grants knowledge of languages, enabling a man to speak with kings and beggars alike, to negotiate treaties, or incite rebellion with equal grace. But perhaps most dangerously of all, Ronova gives the favor of both friends and foes. Imagine the implications. What if your enemy smiled upon you not knowing why? What if your allies followed blindly, not by loyalty, but by enchantment? He commands 19 legions of demons who walk unseen among men, influencing the rise and fall of leaders. The words spoken at pulpits and podiums Would you dare summon such a monster to be your tutor? And if you did, how long would you remain the master? The 28th spirit is a mighty and terrible duke known by the name Berith, though in other tongues he is also called Beel or Bolfrey. His appearance is striking and unforgettable. He comes dressed as a soldier, clothed in red as if perpetually stained with blood from battles long past, riding upon a red horse, its hooves thundering like drums of war. Upon his brow gleams a crown of gold, signifying not royalty, but dominion, bought through deception. And yet, despite this regal form, every part of him pulses with deceit. Berith speaks with a clear voice, smooth as polished glass, and his words sound convincing, perhaps too convincing. He offers answers to all things of the past, the present, and even the future. He is said to possess the alchemical power to transmute any metal into gold, a temptation so great that even the wisest kings have fallen prey to its allure. Who among us would not be tempted even just once to ask him for such a gift? But therein lies the danger. Berith is a great liar, a master of half-truths wrapped in honeyed tones. While he confers dignity upon men, lifting them in status and honor, he often does so only to drag them down when pride has blinded them. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. Berith is the echo of that scripture, the embodiment of what happens when man seeks truth from the lips of the father of lies. Those who sign pacts with the devil, it is said, sign them in Berith's presence, and his name seals the fate. He must never be trusted, for his loyalty is as fleeting as smoke in the wind. Would you shake hands with a liar who knows your destiny? The 29th spirit is a name long feared by prophets, whispered in desert winds, and carved into the stones of ruined temples. He is the mighty Duke Astaroth, and he appears in the form of a hideous angel, radiant once now corrupted. He rides a fiery dragon, its scales glowing like molten lava, and clutches a viper in his right hand, the serpent writhing as if in agony. But his most fearsome feature is unseen. His breath, a foul stench that withers all it touches, decaying the very soul of the air around him. Astaroth answers with clarity about things past, present, and yet to come, and none can question the depth of his knowledge. If pressed, he will eagerly recount the tragedy of the angel's fall, how Lucifer rose in pride, and why he himself was cast down. There is bitterness in his voice, but also a strange pride, as though the fall were not a punishment, but a badge of defiance. He teaches all liberal sciences from philosophy to astronomy, imbuing his students with uncanny insight. But at what cost? He rules over 40 legions, and among his ranks are those who once sang in the choirs of heaven. Now they serve a master who knows secrets too great for mortal ears. If you were offered forbidden knowledge, truths about your life, your destiny, the hidden motives of heaven itself, would you dare to ask, "Ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil"? Genesis 3:5. So whispered the serpent, and perhaps behind that serpent stood Astaroth. The 30th spirit is a great marquis, a noble among demons, known as Forneus. He does not take the form of man or beast, but instead appears as a monstrous sea creature, a great sea monster, vast and terrible, like Leviathan rising from the deep. His voice is said to echo like waves crashing on the cliffs of eternity, and when he speaks, mortals are compelled to listen. Despite his fearsome form, Forneus is a teacher, one who instructs in the art of rhetoric, elevating men into orators, whose words stir the hearts of crowds and shake the thrones of kings. He grants fame not fleeting or shallow, but the kind that lingers in songs and stories passed from generation to generation. He gives understanding of all languages, including the speech of nations, the whispers of ancient texts, and perhaps even the language of angels and beasts. He bestows the favor of both friends and foes, turning enemies into allies and inspiring loyalty from those who once sought your ruin. He governs 29 legions of spirits, all committed to shaping the influence of mortals through speech and persuasion. But remember this: before his fall, Forneus belonged to the angelic order of thrones, those who once stood nearest to the divine judgment seat of God. What pain must burn within him, now exiled from glory, yet still carrying the echo of that ancient authority. The 31st spirit is a great president named Phorus, a figure cloaked not in horror, but in strength and mystery. He does not approach as beast or terror, but in the form of a strong man, radiating an ancient authority, carved not by cruelty, but by mastery. His presence commands silence, for when Phorus speaks, even the restless winds pause to listen. He bestows upon men the understanding of the hidden virtues buried deep within all herbs and precious stones, truths long forgotten since the days of Eden. Can you imagine plucking a single leaf from a tree and knowing instantly its healing power or its ability to curse? Phorus is not merely a herbalist of the damned. He is a teacher of logic and ethics, of systems and wisdom that sharpen the minds of men until they gleam like blades in the sun. Under his tutelage, the fool becomes eloquent, the silent becomes persuasive, and the common man rises to speak as one touched by divine intellect. With the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach will be satisfied. He will be satisfied with the product of his lips, says Proverbs 18:20. And Phorus makes this ancient truth a dark reality. He is a revealer of treasures long buried, not only of gold or jewels, but of knowledge of power, of secrets sealed away by time and death. He uncovers that which has been lost, be it a relic, a word, or even a memory. He rules over 29 legions of demons, all devoted to this pursuit of enlightenment through unholy channels. And you, if you had but one chance to recover what you thought gone forever, would you call upon Phorus? The 32nd spirit is one whose name has echoed through the pages of forgotten scripture and the legends of all who fear lust, rage, and deception. He is Asmodeus, a great king, dreadful and magnificent, whose 3 heads betray the chaotic nature within him: the head of a bull, the head of a man, and the head of a ram. His form is monstrous, his limbs unnatural, a serpent's tail, webbed feet like a goose, and a body constantly trembling with raging fire. He rides upon a fiery dragon, its breath smoldering like the pit of Gehenna, and in his hands he carries a lance and a flag, symbols not of peace, but conquest. From his mouth belches flames, a grotesque echo of divine tongues twisted in rebellion. Asmodeus stands before all other kings of the East, not by mercy or appointment, but by sheer might and manipulation, operating under the terrible dominion of Amamon, the principal king of the East. Like Amamon, Asmodeus is a deceiver, clothed in the illusion of wisdom, yet ever ready to corrupt the minds of those who seek knowledge too hungrily. He instructs in the arts of arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and the handicrafts of the ancient world, those very sciences which once constructed temples to Yahweh, now defiled in service to the infernal. He governs 72 legions, a number that echoes in both holy and unholy texts. He is also the keeper of treasure sites, especially those hidden within the territories ruled by a Mammon. And when a man seeks that which glitters in the dark, is he not risking more than his soul? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. Would your heart be safe if it beat in the palm of Asmodeus? The 33rd spirit is a mighty prince and president feared even by his own kind, known as Gap. He was once among the angelic order of powers, a celestial being tasked with maintaining the might of heaven, now twisted into a shadow of that glorious mandate. He appears only when the sun passes through the southern signs, when the heavens lean closest to the fires below. He manifests as a man, but not one you would mistake for mortal. For from his backstretch, 2 massive wings, like those of a bat, vast enough to darken the moonlight and silence the songs of birds. He is followed not by servants, but by 4 powerful kings, their loyalty bound by terror and allegiance alike. Gap teaches liberal sciences and philosophy, making the foolish wise and the arrogant even more persuasive. But beware, his greatest power lies not in what he gives, but in what he can take away. He strips men of love, makes them insensible to hatred, and repels good spirits from any who dare summon him. He transports magicians with unnatural speed across the face of the earth, moving through the air as if through silk, delivering them to their destinations before even a heartbeat can pass. More dangerously, Gap instructs in the consecration of tools, those instruments used in divination and invocation, always in the name of his dark master, Amimon. If you sought to see the future or speak with powers beyond the veil, would you still be so eager if it were Gap guiding your hand? And if he removed your ability to love to feel, what part of your humanity would remain? The 34th spirit is a great earl known as Furtur, though some ancient texts whisper his name as Furfur, a name that shivers through old grimoires like thunder before a storm. He appears in the form of a hart, a majestic stag, but this is no peaceful woodland creature. His antlers are gnarled like twisted roots of fire, and from his tail burns an unceasing flame, licking the air like a living torch. His beauty is deceptive, his majesty a mask, for beneath that noble form lies chaos barely restrained. He commands 26 legions of demons, spirits of wind and storm, and his voice, hoarse and broken like wind through shattered reeds, carries with it the crackle of distant lightning. Furtur is a liar by nature, and unless he is bound within the sacred triangle, all his words, no matter how tempting, will be false. Do you know how many have fallen, believing his sweet deceit? For even Satan masquerades as an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. When properly constrained, however, Furtur becomes a force of unmatched elemental power. He can summon thunder and call forth lightning, stir wild winds, and unleash violent storms upon land and sea. Entire fleets have vanished under his breath. Entire cities have trembled beneath his wrath. If you had the chance to command the weather itself, if you could shake the skies and tear open the heavens, would you take it, even if it meant trusting a liar caged in fire? The 35th spirit is one of the most fearsome to behold. He is a great marquis, and he is called Marcosius. He does not enter quietly, first appearing as a cruel she-wolf, her jaws lined with serrated teeth, wings of a griffin folded along her sides, and a long serpent's tail writhing behind her. From her mouth belches flames not of warmth, but of searing, purging fire that once consumed heavenly altars, now turned to unholy destruction. But this is not her only form. Marcosius transforms into a mighty human warrior, strong and noble in countenance, bearing the aura of battle-scarred honor. He is no ordinary demon. He once stood among the angelic order of dominion servants of divine authority and power. And deep within his burning heart, there remains a strange and tragic hope for Marcosius, who believes that one day he will be allowed to return to heaven to reclaim his place at the seventh throne, where he once sang the praises of the Almighty. Is it possible for a demon to long for redemption? Or is this simply a clever manipulation? Another ruse in the age-old war for the souls of men? Even the demons believe and shudder. Warns. James 2:19. So when a fallen angel begs for his throne, back, can you believe his tears? Or are they made of fire? The 36th spirit is no beast of blood or wrath, but a creature of knowledge and vision. He is called Stolas, a great and powerful prince who does not roar into being, but instead appears first as a mighty raven, black as obsidian, with eyes like two burning stars. His wings beat with the sound of ancient pages turning pages no mortal was meant to read. And then, as the shadows draw close, he takes the form of a man solemn and wise, cloaked in mystery, crowned with starlight. Stolas commands 26 legions of demons, and he is a teacher, but not of worldly things. He whispers the secrets of astronomy, mapping the stars, as though he had carved them with his own claws. He unveils the virtues of herbs, the hidden powers that lie in roots and blossoms. He names precious stones, not just by their worth, but by their spiritual and infernal potential. His knowledge is terrifyingly vast, and he offers it freely, too freely. The 37th spirit is a great marquis, known as Phoenix, and true to his name, he takes the form of the mythical phoenix bird, its radiant plumage shimmering with hues of crimson gold and violet flame. Yet when this being speaks, it is not with a cry or shriek, but with the soft voice of a child, fragile and eerily sweet. From its beak come melodies of haunting beauty songs that stir the deepest chambers of the soul, songs that once echoed through heavenly courts before the fall. But do not be misled by this gentleness, for Phoenix is no innocent songbird. He is a masterful poet, his words woven with power, rhythm, and deception. He speaks marvelously of all sciences, reciting truths of the cosmos and secrets buried in the bones of the earth. He governs 20 legions of demons, spirits of air, and thought of music and memory. And yet deep within this demon's burning chest, there remains a strange longing. Phoenix believes that one day he might return to the seventh throne in heaven, the very seat from which he fell. But how could such a thing be possible? Can a demon sing his way back into paradise? Or does every beautiful note serve only to beguile and ensnare, as the prophet Ezekiel declared of Lucifer? Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. Ezekiel 28:15. If perfection can fall, can poetry ever rise again? The 38th spirit is a great earl named Halphus, a being of war and desolation cloaked in the humble form of a stock dove. Yet this is no gentle bird of peace. When Halphus speaks, his voice is hoarse and cracked, like the call of death echoing through empty fields. His wings are stained with the smoke of battle, and his mission is grim. He sends men to war, and not just to fight, but to fall. Wherever he moves, bloodshed follows. He does not only command, he constructs. Halphus builds high towers, grim citadels of conflict, and arms them with weapons and ammunition, turning peaceful lands into fortresses of death. He rules over 26 legions of demons, and each one carries the weight of destruction. Think how many towers in our world today were raised not for shelter, but for control. How many of us have unknowingly walked beneath the shadow of his works? And here lies the question that pierces deeper than steel. If a spirit gives you strength in war, do you ask where that strength truly comes from? Does victory justify the pact? They that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Matthew 26:52. So, when Halphus whispers of defense, is it truly defense, or is it vengeance dressed in armor? The 39th spirit is known as Malphus, and many ancient grimoires suggest he is the brother of Halphus, both bound by blood and destruction. Malphus is a powerful president, and like his sibling, he appears first as a crow, black as midnight and ragged from the skies. His voice too is hoarse, but beneath it lies a cunning intellect. When the veil of feathers falls, he assumes the form of a man, a figure of shadowed wisdom and secret rage. Malphus governs 40 legions of demons, and his talents mirror his brothers, but with a darker precision. He builds strong houses, raises high towers, and summons skilled workers from across the globe, spirits of craft, stone, and iron. But this spirit does more than build. He tears down the will, shatters the thoughts, and breaks the intentions of your enemies. His touch is subtly destructive, not by force, but by corruption. Yet beware. Malphus is a deceiver above all else. Those who summon him believing they can control him are already ensnared. His gifts come wrapped in promises, but every promise is a knife. How many kings have risen by his help, only to be betrayed by the same hands that raised their crowns? The 40th spirit is a formidable earl, known as Raum, and like his brother, spirits of ruin, he takes the form of a crow upon his first appearance, a shadowy creature, wings, tattered eyes, gleaming with unnatural intelligence. But this bird is no mere omen of death. When summoned and compelled, Raum transforms into the likeness of a man, though no trace of human kindness rests upon his face. Raum's dominion is one of theft and destruction, and his mission is nothing less than the toppling of empires. He has the power to steal treasures from the very houses of kings, stripping monarchs of their wealth in the dead of night, carrying riches to wherever he is commanded. But he does not stop at gold. He destroys cities, burning their foundations, crumbling their towers, and tears down the dignities of men, reducing lords to beggars and leaders to dust. He speaks of all things, past, present, and future, laying bare the secrets of both the lowly and the mighty. Nothing escapes his gaze. Before his fall, Raum belonged to the angelic order of thrones, those celestial beings once seated before the very presence of God. How could a servant of divine judgment descend to become a thief and a destroyer? Is it not written, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning"? Isaiah 14:12. If the greatest can fall, what makes any throne truly safe? So tell me, if you could take down kings with a whisper or crumble, cities without lifting a sword, would you command him? Or would you dare not speak his name at all? The 41st spirit is a great duke called Focalor, and his appearance is one of dreadful majesty. He takes the form of a man with vast wings, like those of a griffin feathers, like blades, eyes like storm clouds. The winds follow him as loyal servants, and the seas shudder beneath his shadow. Focalor is the master of maritime death. He kills men by drowning overturned ships and crushes war vessels beneath the surge of his waters. His breath is salt. His words stir waves. He holds dominion over both the winds and the seas, and where he walks, sailors vanish and navies fall to ruin. Yet there is a mystery here, for if he is commanded with firmness and divine authority, he refrains from harming any living soul. Folklore rules over 30 legions of demons, yet despite his might, he harbors a strange and silent hope. He dreams that one day he may return to the seventh throne in heaven, reclaiming the place he lost among the divine. Could it be that even the slayer of fleets longs for forgiveness? But ponder this: what kind of power would you wield if you could command the sea itself? If the winds bowed before your word, would you bring peace or drown your enemies in silence? Even the winds and the sea obey him, the disciples marveled at Christ. Matthew 8:27. Who then do folklore's storms obey? The 42nd spirit is another great duke, and he is named Vipar. Unlike the thunderous wrath of folklore, Vipar arrives armored, and still his presence like a brewing storm, silent but lethal. He guides the waters not with violence, but with cruel intention. He causes the seas to swell, the waves to rise, and fills them with ships, as if summoning vessels only to witness their doom. But Vipar's malice does not end at sea. He brings death by disease, commanding invisible armies. He causes sores and wounds to fester, and infests the flesh with worms, turning men into living corpses. He governs 29 legions of demon spirits that whisper rot and salt and fear. His touch is plague. His voice is decayed. The 43rd spirit is a great marquise, known as Sabnak, whose arrival is both terrible and commanding. He appears as a warrior fully armored, riding atop a pale horse and bearing the fierce head of a lion. His eyes burn with militant rage, and his steps echo like the march of death itself. The pale horse beneath him is no ordinary steed. It is a creature from the threshold of the grave, its hooves never leaving tracks, its breath chilling the air around it. Sabnak is a builder of fortresses, and he does so with unrelenting precision. He constructs great towers, walled camps, and invincible cities, arming them with defenses no mortal hand could match. Wherever he rides, foundations rise from the earth, and stone bows to his command. Yet, as with many of the great dukes of hell, his powers do not end with construction. Like the dreadful Vipar before him, Sabnak brings affliction, inflicting upon the bodies of men. Rotting wounds, open sores, and ulcerated flesh, crawling with worms. These torments do not come swiftly, but fester slowly, as if time itself were made to suffer. Sabnak rules over 50 legions of demons, each one forged for war, for plague, and for desecration. But the question remains, why does a builder of cities also delight in the destruction of flesh? Could it be that the fortresses he raises are not meant to protect, but to imprison? Consider this: if you were granted the power to raise unbreakable walls, but only at the cost of infecting others with decay, would you build? Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain to build it. Psalm 127:1. But what if the house was meant for hell itself? The 44th spirit is another great marquis, named Shax, a name that passes from whisper to whisper in the shadows. He takes the form of a stock dove, modest and soft in appearance, but his voice is hoarse, and his words are slippery as oil. Do not be fooled, for Shax is a deceiver, perhaps one of the greatest among his brethren. When summoned, Shax must be bound within a magic triangle, for if left unchecked, he will speak nothing but lies. Truth twists in his beak, and flattery masks every betrayal. But once properly constrained, his powers are vast and terrible. He steals the sight-hearing and understanding of men, plunging them into blindness, deafness, and confusion. He strips kings of their wealth, entering palaces like a thief in the night, and steals from the treasuries of empires without sound or trace. Yet his most chilling ability is this Shax reveals secrets that are hidden so long as they are not guarded by other demons. If he cannot deceive, he will unveil. If he cannot blind, he will expose. Shax governs 30 legions of demons, and his legions are those of confusion, theft, and illusion. So then, if you could silence your enemies, blind your rivals, or unlock the treasures buried by forgotten kings, would you call upon him? Or would you fear becoming the next to lose your senses in the bargain? For as Scripture warns, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. 2 Corinthians 11:13. Not every dove is peaceful, and not every whisper is the voice of the Spirit. The 45th Spirit is a dual being of power and wrath, a great king and earl known as Vine. He appears in the form of a lion, majestic and regal, yet upon a black horse whose eyes shine like burning coals. In one hand, Vine holds a writhing viper symbol of hidden knowledge and venomous intent. His presence commands reverence and fear. Vine is a revealer of the hidden, a breaker of veils. He exposes witches, uncovers secrets, and tells of all things past, present, and future with unwavering accuracy. He is both architect and destroyer, able to build massive stone walls and high towers, and yet with the same authority, he can reduce them to rubble, leaving nothing but dust and memory. But Vine's influence extends far beyond stone. He stirs the seas, raising storms of unnatural fury, wielding dominion over maritime chaos. His anger lashes like the serpent in his hand, and his voice echoes like thunder over water. Vine commands 35 legions of demons, his court filled with builders, prophets, and stormbringers. He is not to be summoned lightly. The 46th Spirit is an earl named Bifrons, a being shrouded in dread and spectral power. When he first manifests, his form is monstrous, some say grotesque, a swirling distortion of limbs and shadows, too hideous to gaze upon without trembling. But when commanded, Bifrons transforms into a man, his voice ancient, his eyes hollow, like the grave, as though his soul were stitched together from the cries of the dead. But do not be fooled by this shape, for even in human form, the stench of the tomb clings to him. Bifrons is a master of forbidden knowledge. He instructs in astronomy, astrology, geometry, and the deeper sciences that few dare pursue. He knows the virtues of herbs, the secrets hidden in precious stones, and the energies held within rare woods. Many who seek him do so not for destruction, but for understanding. Yet even knowledge, when wrested from the dead, comes with a price. For Bifrons does not merely speak to the dead, he moves them. He uproots corpses from their graves, relocates them to unholy sites, and kindles spiritual candles above their resting places. These are not candles of comfort, but flames that whisper secrets, lit by Bifrons to command the dead in silence. He rules over 6 legions of demons, and they are unlike any others. They are grave diggers, bone whisperers, silent watchers at the edge of night. So tell me, if you could ask a question to the grave and hear it answer back, would you dare? The dead know nothing, says Ecclesiastes 9:5. But what if one's spirit defies that truth? The 47th Spirit is a great duke known as Vuel, whose appearance is both strange and majestic. He arrives first as a dromedary camel, towering, rugged, silent, but then shifts into the form of a man, though his tongue speaks with a broken Egyptian accent, as though language itself struggles to pass his lips. Vul was once an angel of the celestial order of powers, before his pride led him to ruin. Now cast down, he rules over 37 legions of demons, and yet his gifts remain beautiful and dangerous. He brings love where there is hatred, peace where there was once vengeance, reconciliation between bitter enemies. But what is the cost of such peace? And if love must be manufactured by a fallen being, is it love at all? He charms women, wins hearts like coins in the hands of kings, and speaks with great knowledge of the past, the present, and what is still to come. His voice may be fractured, but his understanding is clear and his influence far-reaching. What would you do then if an angel fallen from heaven offered to heal your broken relationships? Would you listen, or would you ask, whose peace is this God's or the serpent's? For Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. Could it be that Vul's greatest deception is not destruction, but reconciliation? The 48th spirit is a great president named Hagenti, whose entrance shakes the ground beneath him. He takes the form of a mighty bull, a beast of earth and strength, yet with wings of a griffin, a creature of air and mystery. His very body bridges heaven and earth, the carnal and the divine. Hagenti's power is one of transformation. He changes water into wine and wine into water, echoing a miracle once performed at a wedding in Cana. John 2:1-11. But in this case, the source is not Christ. Hagenti's gift is alchemy, and through it, he can transmute all metals into gold, a power that has tempted kings, emperors, and sorcerers alike. He teaches wisdom, not in one field, but in many, spreading knowledge like seeds in spring. But who is the harvester? Hagenti commands 33 legions of demons, and each one carries the weight of change. Whether they transmute thought matter or ambition, they alter everything they touch. The 49th spirit is a great duke known by the name Procel, or in some grim records, Croxel. He appears in the form of an angel, radiant and calm, with eyes that seem to have wept for centuries. But do not be deceived by the illusion of holiness, for this being once divine now commands 48 legions of demons beneath the black banners of hell. His voice, when heard, does not thunder, it whispers. And yet, what he whispers stirs the soul, for Procel speaks of mysteries of hidden places, of truths buried beneath time and stone. He opens the doors of geometry and the liberal sciences, not like a teacher, but like a prophet, unsealing an ancient tomb. And yet, for all his wisdom, he is a being of chaos. He is a noisemaker, one who can summon the roar of rushing rivers, the crash of waves, or the tremble of springs boiling over. He warms waters, tempers the heat of natural springs, and manipulates the elements with an eerie ease, as if he still remembers what it felt like to bend creation before the fall. Before his rebellion, Procel belonged to the angelic order of powers, the very warriors once tasked with protecting heaven's boundaries. So, what could corrupt a guardian of divine order into a bringer of storm and sound? And if he still holds the memory of divine command, might he still carry traces of heaven's fire? Can you imagine standing at a sacred spring only to hear the voice of an angel in the steam, whispering secrets never meant for mortal ears? The 50th spirit is a knight, and he bears the name Furcus, a name that trembles with ancient cruelty. When he comes, he rides a pale horse, its bones visible through its flesh, and he appears as an old man, stooped, grizzled his beard, long as memory and wild as the wind. But make no mistake, Furcus is not frail. His eyes are sharp as razors, and in his hand he wields a weapon that gleams like frozen fire. He teaches not one thing, but many. Philosophy, astronomy, astrology, rhetoric, logic, chiromancy, and pyromancy are both noble and forbidden. What teacher offers knowledge of stars and fire in the same breath? What master can read the lines on your palm while setting it ablaze? Furcus is a scholar, yes, but a scholar who studies not only truth, but the ruin truth can cause. He commands 20 legions of demons, and those legions move like silent librarians, each bearing secrets, curses, and spells long forgotten by mankind. So tell me, if you could learn the full architecture of your destiny, your path, your suffering, your death, would you want to know? Or worse, what if you already do, and you've simply forgotten? The 51st spirit is a terrible and mighty king named Balaam. His arrival is not announced by trumpets, but by a cold silence, followed by the earth itself, trembling under the weight of his steed. An angry bear frothing and wild each of its steps like the toll of a funeral bell. Upon this beast, Balaam sits with impossible grace, though his form is a horror. 3 heads, one of a bull, one of a man, and one of a ram, each snarling or whispering, or watching with eyes that blaze like burning coals. He carries a goshawk on his fist, a creature that stares with deadly stillness as if ready to dive into your very soul. And when Balaam speaks, his voice is hoarse, as if scraped raw from centuries of prophecy. He reveals things past present, and yet to come, not with riddles, but with brutal clarity, giving answers that cut like iron. He bestows invisibility, a vanishing not just of form, but of essence, and he grants wit, cunning, and strategic brilliance, allowing his summoner to walk unseen, unheard, but never unknowing. He governs 40 legions of demons, each one moving in silence, seen only when they choose to be. But consider this: if the power to vanish were placed in your hands, would you use it to escape or to do what you could not do when seen? The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Jeremiah 17:9. Perhaps Balaam already does. The 52nd spirit is a mighty duke feared across infernal dominions by the name of Alices. He does not come quietly. When he arrives, the earth quakes beneath the hooves of a monstrous horse, its breath thick with brimstone, its eyes ablaze with fury. And upon that beast rides Alices, a soldier cloaked in terror, with a lion's face seared red by the fires of war and eyes that burn with a flame that does not die. He speaks hoarsely, as though every word is forced, through embers in his throat, and his voice carries the tone of old war horns echoing through desolate valleys. Alices teaches astronomy, but not the calm, glimmering science studied beneath peaceful night skies. His astronomy is warlike, rooted in the movement of stars that fall, moons that bleed, and constellations shaped like swords. He teaches all liberal sciences not to enlighten, but to empower. To those who dare summon him, he offers forbidden knowledge, not with mercy, but with fire. He rules over 36 legions of demons, each one marching like a battalion across scorched lands, each carrying the fire of their master's wrath. And as they march, one must wonder what celestial force could have allowed such a being to once stand near heaven's throne. What does it mean when lions fall from grace? If Alices offered you wisdom at the price of fire, would you take it? The 53rd spirit is a great president known by the enigmatic name of K.M. He appears first as a blackbird, perhaps a thrush, perhaps something older, its eyes glinting with secrets, its wings cutting shadows through moonlight. Then, before you can speak, he shifts, rising like a mist into the form of a man bearing a sharp sword, adorned with strange plumage and a tail like that of a peacock shimmering with unnatural hues. What kind of warrior dresses in such defiant beauty came as a spirit of understanding, and his gift is unlike any other. He makes known the songs of birds, the lowing of bulls, the barking of dogs, even the whispers of rivers and the cries of the wind. He teaches the voice of the world, not just the words of men, but the deeper music sung by creation itself. He settles disputes not by brute force, but by wisdom so precise it slices confusion like a sword through silk. He commands 30 legions of demons, each one trained not to speak, but to listen. They drift through forests and storms, eavesdropping on nature's oldest languages. But here's the question. If you could understand the cries of animals, the whispers of winds, and the mutterings of beasts, what would you learn about yourself? But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Job 12:7. KM teaches this very thing, but the lesson may change you. The 54th spirit is a great duke and an earl, one of unearthly dignity and dreaded name, Murmur or Murmus, as he is sometimes called in older texts. When he descends, he rides not on a horse, but on a griffin, a beast of fable and flame, its wings cutting through the sky like razors. A crown sits upon his head, and before him march 2 mighty heralds blowing great trumpets, whose echoes summon dread in the hearts of all living. Murmur teaches philosophy, not from books, but from the mouths of the dead. For this, Duke has the power to summon souls from beyond the grave, to command spirits of those long departed to rise to speak, and to answer the questions of those who dare ask. He offers communion with the forgotten and guidance from those who once held power among the living. Before his fall, Murmur was not just one thing. He belonged partly to the angelic order of thrones seated near judgment, and partly to the order of angels, the messengers of light. And so a part of him still remembers what it felt like to deliver truth with wings of gold. The 55th spirit is a mighty prince known across the infernal dominions as Oribas, and his arrival is like a whisper through thunder. He appears first as a majestic horse cloaked in celestial fire, its hooves stirring echoes of prophecy with every step. But then, in a shimmer of dread and awe, he transforms into a man regal and solemn, bearing the aura of ancient wisdom and terrifying authority. Oribas speaks the truth of time itself. He unveils the mysteries of the past, illuminates the present, and parts the veil of the yet to come. No secret escapes his gaze, for he sees not as man sees, but as the watchers once did, piercing through the illusions of days and years. He answers not only earthly questions, but questions of heaven and of the creation of the world, questions once thought too sacred for fallen ears. Have you ever wondered how the heavens were born, or what mysteries still hide in Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, Oribas claims to know. But he does not come empty-handed. He bestows dignities and even causes foes to favor you, as though hearts and thrones were nothing but pieces on his eternal board. And yet, he governs only 20 legions of demons, a number small compared to kings, but every one of them loyal beyond question. Perhaps because Oribas is different. Some say he is one of the few who does not lie. But ask yourself, if a demon offered you truth, Would you dare to trust it? The 56th spirit is a powerful duke named Gemery, sometimes called Gremory, and he arrives with elegance that masks his danger. He takes the form of a stunning woman draped in noble garments and wears upon her brow a duchess's crown gleaming like cursed gold. She rides not a steed of war, but a lone spectral camel whose steps echo as if across endless deserts of forgotten dreams. Gemery's power lies in revelation. She tells of all things past, present, and yet to come, unraveling the hidden threads woven deep within your fate. But it is not knowledge alone that she offers. She reveals hidden things, secrets buried not in time, but in the hearts of men. She obtains love, even the forbidden kind, casting spells over women, both young and old, stirring desire, where once there was none. Gemery commands 26 legions of demons, spirits whose whispers ride on the winds of longing, binding hearts, not with chains, but with illusion. But what if your heart were stolen by a spirit like this? What if the love you thought was yours never truly belonged to you? Would you even know the 57th spirit is a great president known as Os, and he is among the strangest of the 72. When summoned, he first takes the form of a leopard, his eyes fierce, his body pacing with wild intelligence. But in a breath, he transforms into a man refined and sharp, like a scholar cloaked in madness. Os is a master of knowledge, particularly in the liberal sciences, which he teaches with blazing clarity. But this is not what makes him feared. Os has the power to alter a man's shape, not just in body, but in mind. He can turn someone into any creature, and more terrifying, still make them believe they are that creature. Imagine living as a wolf, thinking, dreaming, and hungering like a beast, all while your soul is still human. He governs only 3 legions of demons, and yet his influence is profound. Is it because illusion, when believed, becomes reality? Is this how entire kingdoms fall by forgetting who they truly are? The 58th spirit is a great president known as Amy, a name whispered in the deeper shadows of occult texts, spoken only when one dares to seek forbidden wisdom. When summoned, he first manifests as a blazing flame, dancing and crackling, as if it were alive with intelligence, a holy fire corrupted. And only after the magician endures the heat of that presence does Amy take on the form of a man refined and composed, as if nothing had ever burned at all. Amy's gifts are for the ambitious and the bold. He makes a man wondrous in the arts of astrology, able to chart the movement of stars and decipher the silent will of the heavens. He imparts mastery over all liberal sciences, the very knowledge once reserved for the wise men of old, those who, like Daniel, were 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in the kingdom. Daniel 1:20. But Amy's knowledge comes with caution. He reveals hidden treasures, great stores of wealth and power, but only those guarded by spirits, a warning that such gold does not lie dormant or unclaimed. He governs 36 legions of demons, each assigned to guard secrets man was never meant to hold. But if you had the chance, would you take from Amy's fire, knowing something in the shadows still watches what you uncover? The 59th spirit is a great marquis, and his name is Arias, a name that echoes like thunder across the plains of ancient ritual. When he appears, the very air bends with power. He takes the form of a half-man, half-lion, his body wild and regal, riding upon a mighty horse that seems carved from darkness itself. From his lower spine coils the tail of a serpent, and in his right hand he grips two large serpents, both alive, both hissing violently, symbols of knowledge, death, and rebirth. Arius teaches the movements of the stars, the truth of constellations, the power locked within planets and cosmic alignments. Through him, one does not simply gaze at the sky, they command it. But his influence is not confined to knowledge. He elevates men to positions of honor, transforming beggars into noblemen, outcasts into dignitaries. He secures the favor of kings, turning foes into allies and making even the proudest kneel at your name. Arius rules over 30 legions of demons, each skilled in the manipulation of destiny and social ascent. But power, like this, always comes with a cost. If a demon could raise you up, how long before he asked for something in return? The 60th spirit is a mighty duke bearing the name Vapula, and his appearance alone tells you he is not of this world. He comes as a lion, proud and majestic, but not bound by earth. His wings are those of a griffin, vast and feathered, stirring winds with every beat. His presence exudes dominance, intellect, and supernatural command. Vapula's domain is over the crafts of men. He teaches every handicraft, from blacksmithing to sculpture, from the forging of weapons to the making of temples. He reveals the depths of philosophy, the echoes of Plato and Solomon alike, and opens the mind to all scientific pursuits. Under Vapula, the magician becomes not just a thinker, but a creator. He governs 36 legions of demons, each skilled in their own profession, each whispering secrets to those who will listen. The 61st spirit is both a great king and president, and his name is Zagan, a being whose very nature bends the laws of transformation. When summoned, he first takes the form of a powerful bull, its muscles rippling with divine rage, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. But even this fearsome form is not his final visage. Before long, he shifts into the shape of a man, though not one easily forgotten for his gaze. Alone suggests he remembers the original secrets of alchemy, and perhaps even the garden itself. Zagan's powers unsettle even the most disciplined summoner. He makes men clever and witty, taking the dull of mind and sharpening them into cunning thinkers. But what truly marks him is his authority over substances. He turns water into wine and blood into wine, and then back again, blurring the sacred with the profane in a manner disturbingly similar to Christ's first miracle at Cana, John 2:9. But unlike the Son of God, Zagan offers no salvation, only manipulation. He turns fools into the wise, but to what end he governs 33 legions of demons, all experts in distortion and false transmutation. What would you risk to drink from a cup filled by Zagan? Would you recognize what it truly holds? The 62nd spirit is a great president known as Valak, and his appearance is perhaps the most deceptive of all. For when he manifests, he looks like a small boy, gentle and radiant, with angelic wings upon his back, and he rides a two-headed dragon that slithers through the air as if it were silk. There is something deeply unsettling about such innocence, paired with such monstrous majesty. Do not be misled by the childlike form. Valak is a knower of hidden things. He reveals the locations of treasures that lie buried or cursed, protected not by locks, but by the silence of time. Even more chilling, he reveals where serpents may be found, and if commanded, he brings them forth alive and unharmed, delivering them to the magician, like gifts of venom and prophecy. He commands 30 legions of demons, each one loyal to this deceptive cherub of the abyss. One must ask how many have summoned him, thinking they called a friend of light, only to receive something much darker. If a child brought you a serpent in his hands, would you take it? The 63rd spirit is a great marquis named Andras, and his appearance alone is a prophecy of death. He takes the form of a fallen angel dressed in battle, but his head is that of a black night raven, cold and cruel. He rides a mighty black wolf, whose eyes burn with infernal flame, and in his hand he wields a sharp, shining sword, a weapon not for defense, but for the creation of chaos. Andras sows hatred among men, turning friends into enemies, allies into murderers. His entire existence is dedicated to the art of discord. And unlike other spirits who require a magician's direction, Andras acts on impulse. If the one who summons him shows any sign of weakness, Andras will not hesitate to strike, killing the magician and all who stand near. He governs 30 legions of demons, all of them trained in conflict and betrayal. Do you feel confident enough to speak his name aloud? Would you risk your life for a glimpse into the heart of rage? The 64th spirit is a great duke named Flauros, whose approach is as alarming as the truths he reveals. When summoned, he first appears as a powerful leopard, muscles coiled with predatory grace and eyes gleaming with savage intelligence. But this form does not last. In a flicker, he transforms into a man, yet not a man like any mortal has known. His eyes are ablaze with fire, and his face bears such a terrifying countenance that even the most seasoned conjurer must steel their heart against fear. Flauros is a spirit of contradictions. Within the magician's protective triangle, he is obedient. He answers truthfully when asked of the past, present, and future, his voice filled with bitter clarity and cosmic knowledge. But if summoned outside the sacred bounds, he becomes a master of deceit. Every word is a lie, every revelation twisted, every prophecy poisoned. And who can tell in the moment of summoning which version they have truly brought forth? He speaks freely of divine things, often with mockery. He speaks of the creation of the world and of that ancient rebellion that hurled him from the heights of heaven. And when he speaks of his own fall, it is with a strange pride, like a soldier recounting a lost war, still bearing the scars as trophies. But Flauros is not only a historian of hellish origins, he is a weapon. If commanded, he burns and destroys the magician's enemies, bringing fiery judgment upon those who oppose. He protects the one who commands him, warding off other spirits and unseen dangers with fury unmatched. Flauros governs 36 legions of demons, a force loyal to his flame and cunning. But one must ask, when a demon offers protection, what is he truly protecting you from? And how long until he decides to become the very danger he was summoned to prevent? The 65th spirit is a mighty marquis, and his name is Andrialphus, a name often spoken with awe and fear, for he enters with great noise like thunder ripping through the skies. When he manifests, he takes the form of a majestic peacock, its feathers shimmering with otherworldly hues, as though woven from stardust and pride. But soon the peacock fades, and in its place stands a human form, regal and aloof eyes, sharp with measured intelligence. Andrialphus is a tutor of the cosmos. He teaches astronomy and geometry, the sciences of distance and movement of stars and angles, and of the silent equations that govern the heavens. He makes men cunning, sharpening their intellect until they see the world not as it is, but as it can be measured, manipulated, and reshaped. But his gifts come with strange consequences. He has the power to transform a man into the likeness of a bird, both in spirit and in form. What begins as wisdom may quickly turn to delusion. How long before one begins to think like the bird they've become? How long before the soul forgets its shape? He governs 30 legions of demons, each fluent in mathematics and cosmic secrets. But what if knowledge itself becomes a cage? And if Andrialphus teaches you to fly, can you still remember how to walk among men? The 66th spirit is a mighty marquis called Seimares, a name carried with solemn reverence in the hidden circles of conjurers. He appears as a battle-hardened soldier, strong, valiant, and armored, his presence commanding immediate silence. He rides a black horse, its hooves silent like death, its breath steaming like smoke from ancient altars. Seimares is no ordinary duke of the infernal realms. He rules over all spirits in the region of Africa, holding dominion with iron resolve. His knowledge is ancient, his tactics flawless. He teaches grammar, rhetoric, and logic, not for idle study, but for the purposes of command, persuasion, and strategy. Under his instruction, a tongue becomes sharper than any sword. But he is also a seeker of that which has been lost. If treasures have been hidden, if sacred relics have been buried, if truths have been sealed in silence, Seimares can recover them. He unearths what time and spirit tried to conceal. He governs 20 legions of chief spirits, not mere minions, but powerful entities in their own right, spirits beneath him, in rank but dangerous beyond measure. The 67th spirit is a strong duke named Amdusias, whose arrival bends the very fabric of nature in eerie harmony. At first, he appears like a unicorn, majestic and untamed, his horn gleaming like polished ivory beneath stormy skies. But this celestial form is deceptive. Soon he sheds his beastly image, revealing a man draped in strange garments, with eyes that flicker like candle flames behind fogged glass. Amdusias is a spirit of sound and surrender. With but a whisper, he makes trees bow to the will of the conjurer, as though even creation recognizes his authority. But his true signature is one of music. He causes the sound of trumpets, horns, and countless instruments to fill the air, though none are seen. The very air vibrates with symphonies from nowhere, an invisible orchestra echoing through the veil. But why does he bring music? Is it praise, a warning, or some unseen command meant for spirits still hidden? He rules 29 legions of demons, all of them skilled in the unseen arts that touch the senses, without ever revealing their source. If Amdusias stood before you and music surrounded your every thought, would you recognize the melody? Or would you find yourself dancing to a song not meant for human ears? The 68th spirit is a being of both reverence and dread, a mighty and powerful king named Belial. He appears in the form of a beautiful angel, his radiance so overwhelming that even the firmest heart might mistake him for a messenger of God. He sits upon a chariot of fire, its wheels never touching the earth, and his voice is comely, dripping with honeyed wisdom and ancient authority. But beware, for Belial's beauty hides ruin. He was created next after Lucifer, a brother in rebellion, and one who claims to have fallen before all others, before even Michael raised his sword. He speaks of that fall, not with shame, but with bitter pride, naming himself among the wiser angels, those who chose knowledge and freedom over obedience and light. Belial grants kingships, senatorships, the favor of friends and foes alike, and with him, power flows like wine from a cursed goblet. But he does not serve freely. No, he must be appeased with offerings and sacrifices, gifts that stroke his pride and bind his arrogance. Until he has tasted what the magician lays before him, he will not listen. And if not compelled by a higher divine force, he will ignore all demands, for he bows to no man's will unless it is backed by something greater. He governs 80 legions of demons, the largest hosts of infernal royalty. But here lies the question: if you must feed a king to earn his favor, what will he take from you when the feast ends? The 69th spirit is a mighty marquis named Goliath, and his arrival is unlike any other. He appears first as a star, a blazing sigil within a pentacle, pulsing with ethereal light. Only after that celestial form dims does he take on the image of a man, serene, unknowable, with eyes like still water that hide bottomless depth. Goliath is the master of birds and the sacred things of earth. When summoned, he calls forth magical birds, which fly in elegant spirals before the magician, each one a living symbol singing hymns no human could compose. And when he departs, these birds remain not as illusions, but as familiars, loyal companions who eat and sing just as natural creatures do, yet bear within them fragments of spirit. He reveals the virtues of herbs and precious stones, whispering truths that heal, that empower, or that poison. But be warned, what is given through beauty may come with unseen cost. He commands 30 legions of demons, and among them are spirits bound to nature, stars, and skies. If Goliath stood beside you now and a bird landed upon your shoulder, whispering songs into your ear, would you understand its language, or would you simply call it music, never knowing what it meant to awaken? The 70th spirit is a powerful prince named Seer, and unlike many of his infernal brethren, he walks the twilight line between justice and mischief with chilling neutrality. He reigns under a Mammon, the principal king of the East, and when he appears, he takes the form of a beautiful man, astride a mighty winged horse, its hooves pounding against winds that do not exist, its wings slicing through realms unseen. Seer's power is swiftness itself. Time bends around him. He makes things happen in an instant, without delay, hesitation, or question. A word, a glance, a thought, and it is done. He traverses the world in a breath, appearing wherever he pleases, and he reveals the truth behind all thefts. Yet for all his gifts, Seer is curiously indifferent. He serves neither good nor evil, holding no allegiance to heaven or hell in the matters of intent. His nature is calm, almost eerily so, and he governs 26 legions of demons. If Seer were to stand before you now, with your secrets dangling on the edge of his tongue, and your fate ready to unfold in a single breath, would you dare speak your request aloud, or would you fall silent, fearing it might be fulfilled before you were ready? The 71st spirit is a great duke named Dantalion, a being so haunting and complex that the human mind struggles to contain his image. He appears as a man with many faces, not one or two, but dozens of both men and women flickering like candlelight across his form, ever shifting, ever watching. In one hand, he holds a book, ancient and alive, its pages fluttering, though there is no wind. Dantalion sees into the soul. He reveals the secret counsels of anyone, for he knows the thoughts of all men and all women, even those they themselves do not yet understand. And worse still, he can change them. With but a whisper, he bends hearts and wills, turning enemies into lovers, truth into confusion, confidence into doubt. He causes people to fall in love, and not merely the innocent kind. His love is obsessive, consuming, irrational. Through visions, he unveils the true form and color of any person, no matter where they are in the world. None can hide behind masks or continents. All are laid bare before his many eyes. He is a master of all arts and sciences, a scholar of the hidden and a manipulator of the mind. He commands 36 legions of demons, each one a flickering thought, a feeling that does not belong, a sudden memory that was never yours. So, if Dantalion ever gazed upon you and your heart began to burn for someone you've never met, would you trust that desire was yours at all? Or would you fear that your thoughts were no longer your own? The 72nd and final spirit in Ars Goetia is a mighty earl known as Andromalius, and his arrival marks the end not of darkness, but of illusion. He appears in the form of a man solemn and silent, holding a serpent in his hand, not coiled, but tense, ready to strike. Andromalius is the great restorer, the divine punisher, cloaked in infernal authority. He retrieves what has been stolen, unearths what has been hidden, and discovers every wickedness, no matter how deeply buried. He punishes thieves and liars, delivering justice in proportion to their crimes, not mercy, not negotiation, but judgment. He exposes deception, unmasks fraud, and brings balance through retribution. He reveals treasures hidden by mortal hands or protected by lesser spirits, and none can keep from him what he has been sent to find. He governs 36 legions of demons, each one a spirit of retribution, vengeance, and holy terror. If you found yourself before Andromalius, with your guilt hidden beneath a veil of silence, and he looked into you with the serpent coiled at his side, would you beg for forgiveness or prepare for what justice truly feels like in the hands of a demon who cannot be deceived? These are the 72 kings of hell, each one a prince of chaos, a lord of forbidden arts, a sovereign over nightmares. And once, long ago, they were bound. By the command of King Solomon, the wisest man to ever walk the earth, they were sealed with divine authority and cast into a deep lake in Babylon, imprisoned within a vessel, wrought by sacred command and heaven's fire. For Solomon, wielding the ring given by Jehovah himself, did not merely summon these spirits, he subdued them one by one until even the fiercest among them bowed to his will. But time, as it always does, dulls memory and breeds curiosity. Generations passed. The whispers returned. Rumors crept like mist through the streets of Babylon that beneath the lake's silent surface lay not demons, but untold treasures, riches from Solomon's court sealed away from mortal hands. And as gold lured the greedy, the foolish stirred where even the brave dared not tread. They found the vessel, they cracked it open, and in that single tragic breath, freedom was granted. The seal was broken, the air thickened, and all 72 demon kings with their vast legions rose once more into the world of men like smoke through a shattered veil. No one knows the names of those Babylonians who opened the vessel. Perhaps it is better that way. What would it feel like to watch flames pour from the mouth of a clay jar, to feel the wind scream, the ground shake as kings of hell emerge, not with swords, but with eyes that burn and voices that command? And what of those nearby? Did they survive? Or were they swallowed whole by the darkness they unleashed? Since then, the 72 demons have walked the earth anew, not as myth, but as reality. Invisible rulers whispering to kings, guiding wars, tempting souls hiding in plain sight. Each is ranked knights, earls, presidents, princes, dukes, marquises, and kings, a full infernal hierarchy, precise and militant. yet none reign without answering to higher thrones. Above them, 4 names echo like thunder through the abyss. Amemon, the principal king of the east. Corson, the principal king of the west. Ziminiar, the principal king of the north. Gap, the principal king of the south. But who are these 4 merely rulers of their realms, or something far darker? Ancient grimoires whisper what the Bible does not, that these 4 kings, Amemon, Corson, Ziminiar, and Gap, are not merely princes of hell, but manifestations of Lucifer himself, divided across the 4 winds, reigning as one in fractured forms. Could it be that every corner of the earth trembles beneath a different face of the same fallen star? And if that's true, if Solomon's enemies were not merely demons, but shadows of Lucifer himself, what kind of power did the king truly hold in his hand? What divine mystery allowed one man to bind all 4 winds of the devil into silence? And now that the vessel lies shattered, who among us will have the courage to face them again? If this journey through the hidden realm of the 72 kings of hell has stirred your spirit or awakened questions that the world dares not ask, then let your voice be counted. Comment 7 below as a symbol of wisdom, triumphing over darkness as a sign that you walk not in fear, but in discernment. If this story moved you, if it made you see the ancient world through new eyes like this video, to help spread truth to those still wandering in the dark, and subscribe to stand with us as we uncover the mysteries yet to be revealed. Your support means more than you know. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for joining us on this sacred path of discovery. May your days be filled with clarity, your nights with peace, and your heart guarded by the same divine light that once empowered Solomon. Stay blessed, stay bold, and never stop seeking.